The autumn rain tapped against my apartment window like impatient fingers, matching the frantic rhythm of my own as I typed on my phone, the dim glow from the screen illuminating the dark circles under my eyes. Souvenirs from 3 sleepless nights caring for Emma, my feverish 4-year-old daughter who finally slumbered in the next room, her breathing shallow but steady, a small mercy after days of terror. I tucked myself deeper into the worn cushions of my second-hand couch, the faint scent of baby powder and discount fabric softener enveloping me like a familiar embrace, a fragile comfort against the cold reality closing in, rent due tomorrow, medicine unpaid, and Mike, my ex, once again vanished into the ether, leaving only silence where his promises used to be. My fingers trembled as I composed the text, desperation making me reckless. Emma needs medicine. Rent due tomorrow. You promised $1,200 this week. Please respond. And then, because exhaustion had eroded every ounce of caution I possessed, I added the bluff that would change everything. I know you got that money from the Café job. Don't make me call them directly. It was an empty threat, born of nothing but a name he'd muttered during one of our last screaming matches, a name I didn't understand, didn't care about, just another lie from a man who specialized in them. I set my phone down, pressing my palms against my temples, willing away the headache that had taken up permanent residence there, when the light flickered overhead, another reminder of all the things in my life hanging by a thread, and then my phone buzzed. 3 words appeared on my screen that sent ice through my veins. Who is this? A different number. Not Mike's. In my exhaustion, I'd tapped the wrong contact, someone whose number I didn't even recognize, probably a wrong number I'd saved at some point. I quickly typed an apology. Sorry, wrong person, please ignore. But the response was immediate, demanding, what Café job? My stomach clenched. I should have left it alone, but exhaustion had worn away my better judgment. I typed, nothing, my ex works for someone with that name, my mistake. And then came the chilling reply, your name, now. The demanding tone made my fingers hover uncertainly over the screen. Something felt wrong, dangerous even. I hesitated, then replied, this was just a mix-up, I'm sorry to bother you. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then reappeared, and then came the command, address. It wasn't a question. My hands began to tremble as I set the phone down without responding. Outside, the rain intensified, drumming against the windows with new urgency. I pulled my cardigan tighter around my shoulders and moved to check on Emma, needing the comfort of her peaceful breathing. Her fever had broken, finally. Small mercies. I brushed damp curls from her forehead and adjusted her unicorn nightlight, casting a soft lavender glow across her flushed cheeks. Back in the living room, my phone buzzed again, and again, and again. I approached it like it might bite, reading the messages without picking it up. I already know who you are, Sophia Ellis. My full name stared back at me from the screen. I hadn't given my name. 1422 Westbrook Avenue, apartment 3B, my address. My breath caught in my throat. Your daughter is feeling better. The phone slipped from my suddenly numb fingers, clattering to the floor. How could they possibly know about Emma, about her illness? I snatched it back up, hands shaking so badly I could barely hold it. My mind raced through possibilities. Was this Mike playing some twisted game? Had I stumbled into something dangerous? My ex had always been secretive about his work, but I'd assumed it was just another of his lies. I peeked through the blinds, half expecting to see someone watching from the street below. The rain-slicked asphalt reflected the amber glow of streetlights, empty except for parked cars. I was being paranoid. Had to be. Then I saw it. A black Escalade, gleaming despite the downpour, pulling up to the curb directly in front of my building. Its headlights extinguished, but the engine remained running, exhaust forming ghostly tendrils in the cold air. As I watched, transfixed, another identical vehicle appeared, parking behind the first, then another from the opposite direction. Within minutes, 5 black SUVs had surrounded my building, forming an ominous perimeter. My phone buzzed in my hand, coming up. Not a question or a request, a statement of fact. I backed away from the window, heart hammering against my ribs. The building's front door buzzer didn't work. Hadn't for months. But in that moment, I knew it wouldn't matter. The kind of person who could discover my name, my address, my daughter's condition within minutes of a mistaken text wouldn't be stopped by a broken buzzer. I considered calling the police, but what would I say? That I'd accidentally texted someone who now knew too much about me. That expensive cars were parked legally on a public street. That I was scared of a threat that existed only in my imagination. Heavy footsteps echoed in the stairwell. Unhurried but purposeful. I glanced at my apartment door, at its flimsy chain lock and cheap deadbolt. It might as well have been made of paper. The footsteps stopped outside my door, silence stretched for 3 heartbeats. Then 4, no knock came. Instead, my phone lit up with another message. "Open the door, Sophia." I clutched the phone to my chest, backing toward Emma's room. I should wake her, hide her somewhere, but where? We were 3 floors up. No fire escape, no back exit. A soft knock finally came. So controlled and measured it somehow frightened me more than a pounding fist would have. My phone buzzed again. "I'm not here to hurt you or Emma, but we need to talk about Michael." Not Mike. No one called him Michael except his mother. Against every instinct screaming for me to run, I found myself moving toward the door. Survival mode had kicked in, and somehow I knew that whatever waited on the other side wasn't something I could escape. Better to face it head-on than be hunted. My hand hovered over the deadbolt. One turn and I would come face to face with whatever nightmare Mike had dragged us into. One turn and everything would change. I opened the door. The hallway light silhouetted him, casting his face in shadow while illuminating mine. I could see only the outline of broad shoulders in an impeccably tailored suit, the subtle gleam of an expensive watch, the controlled rise and fall of his chest. He smelled of cedar and leather and something metallic. Like power distilled into a scent. Behind him stood another man, larger, with hands clasped before him and eyes that never stopped moving, assessing. The first man stepped forward, just enough for the dim light from my apartment to reveal his features. Sharp cheekbones, a strong jaw darkened by 5 o'clock shadow, and eyes so intensely blue they seemed to cut right through me, calculating, measuring, seeing everything. "Sophia Ellis," he said, his voice a low rumble that sent warning signals racing along my spine. Not a question, another statement of fact. "I believe we need to discuss your relationship with Michael Donovan." I gripped the doorframe for support, my knees threatening to buckle. "Who are you?" His lips curved into something too predatory to be called a smile. "My name is Alessio Caselli, and your ex-boyfriend has stolen something very valuable from my family." In that moment, I realized my desperate text hadn't just reached the wrong number. It had reached the exact wrong person in the entire city. The man Michael had robbed. The man whose name I'd so carelessly dropped. And now he was at my door, with black cars surrounding my building and men who moved like shadows, all because of one mistaken text that had sealed my fate. I tried to close the door, a reflexive, futile gesture. His hand shot out, palm flat against the wood, stopping it with effortless strength. Not forcing it open wider, just preventing my retreat. "That would be unwise," he said quietly. His eyes flicked past me into the apartment. "Your daughter is sleeping. Let's keep it that way, shall we?" The mention of Emma from his lips made my blood run cold. It was one thing to see her name in a text, another entirely to hear this dangerous man acknowledge her presence just rooms away. "I don't know anything about what Mike did," I whispered, adding the tremor in my voice. "We've been separated for almost a year. He barely visits Emma." Alessio's gaze remained fixed on mine, searching for lies. "Yet you know enough to mention my name, to threaten him with it." "It was just a name he dropped once. Said he was working a job for someone important." I was desperate, my voice broke. "He owes child support. Rent's due." I was bluffing. Something shifted in his expression, not softening exactly, but recalculating. The bodyguard behind him received a call, murmuring responses too low for me to hear. "May I come in?" Alessio asked, though it wasn't really a question. "Unless you prefer to have this conversation where your neighbors might overhear." As if summoned by his words, a door down the hall creaked open. Mrs. Abernathy, the retired nurse who sometimes watched Emma for me, peeked out, her eyes widening at the sight of two imposing men at my door. "Everything all right, Sophie?" she called, her voice wavering but determined. Alessio turned slightly, offering her a smile that transformed his entire demeanor, suddenly charming, non-threatening. "Just bringing Sophie some paperwork from the office. Sorry to disturb you so late, ma'am." Mrs. Abernathy hesitated, glancing between us. I forced a smile. "It's fine, Mrs. A, thank you." She nodded uncertainly before retreating, the click of her lock echoing in the hallway. "Office paperwork," I said flatly when we were alone again. "Is that what you call this?" "Seemed better than your ex stole from me and now I'm here to collect," he replied, voice low. "Now may I come in? I promise you and Emma will be safer if you cooperate." The threat was velvet-wrapped but unmistakable. I stepped back, allowing him into my small apartment. His presence immediately seemed to shrink the space, as if the air itself made way for him. The bodyguard remained outside, positioning himself beside my door. "Anton will ensure we're not disturbed," Alessio explained, nodding my glance at the man now guarding my apartment. He surveyed my living room, the shabby furniture, the basket of unfolded laundry, Emma's scattered toys, with an unreadable expression. "Tell me what Mike took," I said, folding my arms across my chest, trying to reclaim some control in a situation that was spiraling beyond my grasp. "And why you think I would know anything about it?" Alessio unbuttoned his suit jacket, a casual gesture that nonetheless made me acutely aware of the gun I was certain he carried, and met my eyes with unsettling directness. "Michael Donovan didn't just take money from me, Sophia. He took information that could get people killed, including, potentially, his own daughter." "My daughter has nothing to do with this," I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the fear coursing through me. I positioned myself between Alessio and the hallway leading to Emma's room, a futile gesture against someone who clearly had resources I couldn't begin to comprehend. Alessio remained standing, his presence dominating my small living room. "I'm afraid that's where you're wrong." The moment Michael decided to betray me, everyone connected to him became involved. He gestured toward the couch. "Sit down, Sophia. This will be easier if we're both comfortable." There was nothing comfortable about this situation, but I sank onto the couch anyway, perching on its edge, ready to bolt despite having nowhere to run. Alessio didn't join me. Instead, he moved to the window, peering through the blinds at the street below where his men waited in their vehicles. "Michael worked for me for 3 years," he said, his back to me. "Nothing significant, mainly running numbers, making deliveries. He wasn't important enough to know much about my business." He turned, fixing me with those piercing blue eyes. "Until 6 weeks ago when he was tasked with delivering a flash drive containing sensitive information. And he stole it," I finished, the pieces falling into place. "Not just stole it, made copies, started shopping it around to my competitors." Alessio's jaw tightened. "Information that could dismantle operations I've spent decades building, that could get my people arrested or killed." I rubbed my temples, a fresh wave of exhaustion washing over me. That sounds exactly like something Mike would do, always looking for the easy score. I looked up at him. But I haven't seen or heard from him in weeks, except for texts asking for more time on the child support. Whatever he took, whatever he's doing with it, I'm not part of it. Alessio crossed the room in 2 smooth strides, picking up a framed photo from my bookshelf. It showed me and Emma at the park last summer, her face smeared with ice cream, both of us laughing. His fingers traced the edge of the frame with unexpected gentleness. "You have a beautiful daughter," he said quietly. "She has your smile." A chill ran through me at his words, at the way he studied Emma's face. "Please don't," I whispered. "I'm not threatening her, Sophia." He set the photo down carefully. "I'm explaining why you're already involved, whether you chose to be or not. Michael has put a target on both your backs." "What do you mean?" "The information he stole, it doesn't just compromise me. It compromises people who make me look like a saint by comparison." He sat down in the armchair across from me, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. "Right now. There are at least 3 other organizations hunting for him, and by extension, for anyone who might lead to him. I swallowed hard, my throat suddenly dry. I told you I don't know where he is. I believe you, his response surprised me, but they won't. And they won't ask as politely as I am. A hysterical laugh escaped me. This is polite, surrounding my building with armed men, tracking my phone, threatening me and my daughter. If I wanted to threaten you, you'd know it, he said, his tone matter-of-fact rather than menacing. The cars outside aren't just to intimidate you, they're a security perimeter. And I haven't touched your phone. Your ex-boyfriend gave me your number months ago, listed you as his emergency contact. I stared at him in disbelief. That's impossible. He would. He needed to provide a family contact when he started working for me, said you were still on good terms. Alessio's mouth twisted in what might have been amusement. Clearly, he lied about that too. My mind raced, trying to process this new information. Mike had used me as his emergency contact for a job with the mafia. The absurdity of it would have been laughable if it weren't so terrifying. As for knowing about your daughter's illness, Alessio continued, you've been filling prescriptions at Westside Pharmacy. My business owns that building. I hugged myself tighter, feeling exposed. So what do you want from me, if you believe I don't know where Mike is? I want to find him before my competitors do, and you're going to help me. How am I supposed to do that when I can't even get him to answer my texts? Because you have something he wants. Alessio nodded toward the hallway where Emma slept. His daughter, the one thing he might actually care about. I stood up abruptly, fury momentarily overtaking fear. You are not using my daughter as bait. In one fluid motion, Alessio rose to meet me, his height forcing me to tilt my head. I whispered more to myself than to Emma as we stepped into the hallway. The overhead light buzzed faintly, casting long shadows that seemed to lean toward us like curious ghosts. Anton held the stairwell door open, his bulk blocking the dim emergency exit sign behind him. No elevator. Of course not. Our building's elevator had been out of service since last winter. Alessio walked slightly ahead, one hand resting lightly near the small of his back, where I was certain a gun waited. Not pointed at us. Not yet, but ready. The rain hadn't let up. It hissed against the building's brick facade as we descended, each step echoing in the hollow stairwell. Emma's small hand was clammy in mine, her breathing still raspy but steady. She kept glancing back at our door, as if expecting it to vanish behind us. At the ground floor, Alessio paused. Eyes forward, Sophia. Don't look at the cars. Don't make eye contact with my men. Just walk to the one with the tinted rear windows third from the curb. I nodded, throat too tight to speak. Outside, the cold hit like a slap. Rain soaked through my cardigan in seconds. Emma whimpered, pressing closer. Alessio immediately shrugged out of his suit jacket, impeccably tailored, probably worth more than my rent, and draped it over her shoulders. She blinked up at him, surprised. Thank you, she murmured, clutching the heavy fabric. He gave her the barest nod. You're welcome, Piccola asterisk. We reached the SUV. A man I hadn't seen before opened the rear door. Plush black leather. Climate controlled. A world away from my peeling linoleum and flickering lights. Get in, Alessio said gently. I'll sit with you. I hesitated only a second before lifting Emma inside. She curled into the corner, Mr. Flopsy tucked under her chin, Alessio's jacket swallowing her small frame. I slid in after her, heart pounding as the door shut with a soft, expensive thunk. The engine purred to life. No sirens, no screeching tires, just smooth, silent motion as we pulled away from 1422 Westbrook Avenue, my home, my sanctuary, my prison, now shrinking in the rearview mirror. Alessio didn't speak until we turned 2 blocks over. Then, quietly, where does Michael keep things he doesn't want found? I stared at him. What? Letters, keys, backup phones, cash. He wouldn't trust a bank. Where would he hide something important? I thought of Mike's habits, the way he'd stash cigarettes behind the toilet tank, roll joints in the glove compartment, tuck emergency 20s in the sole of his work boots. He used to keep a lockbox under the floorboard in his old garage, but he lost that lease months ago. Any other places? I shook my head. He's not that organized. If he's got the drive, it's probably on him, or buried in some pawn shop locker under a fake name. Alessio exhaled slowly, watching the rain streak across the window. Then we make him come to us. He pulled out a sleek phone, different from the one he'd texted me with, and handed it to me. This is clean, untraceable. Use it to text him. Tell him Emma's fever spiked again, that she's asking for him, that you found a flash drive in his old duffel bag and you're scared. My stomach twisted. That's cruel. It's survival, he corrected, voice low. And if you don't do it, someone far crueler will find him first and use your daughter in ways I won't. I looked at Emma, already dozing against the window, her lashes wet with rain and exhaustion. She trusted me to keep her safe, even now. With trembling fingers, I took the phone. One text, one lie, to lure a monster or maybe, just maybe, to save us all. I typed, Mike, Emma's worse. High fever again. She keeps saying your name. I found that metal thing you left in your old bag, the one with the blue sticker. I don't know what it is, but the police called. Please, just tell me what to do. I hit send. Alessio watched the screen light up in my hands. Good, he said. Now we wait. Outside, the city blurred past, neon signs smearing into streaks of red and gold through the rain. Somewhere out there, Mike was running. And now, so were we. But this time, we weren't running alone.